Hi everybody, welcome back. This is part 5 or part 2 section B of the Maya to Houdini conversion course that I set up to help artists who are going from Maya into Houdini, basically how you can do the same things in Maya in Houdini, which is a bit of a bugbear. There's lots of great tutorials, as we know, on Houdini, but not really any that teach you, the Maya artist, how you can get about in Houdini and build your proficiency really fast. So in the past couple of lessons we've talked about setting up contexts, setting up basic setups in Houdini. In the last lesson we set up a basic particle example, just emitting off two objects in Houdini and emitting particles off of there. What I want to talk about in this lesson is I'm going to show you how you can start playing with the attributes. So we did all of this last time out. This time around we're going to talk about keyframing, we're going to talk about setting emission times, we're going to go into, hopefully if time permits, some basic expressions, where you would write your expressions, what the different formats are, show you how to add some fills, and I'll show you how to do some collisions as well, and we could try to squeeze that all in under 15 minutes before Cam Studio kicks me out. So let's pick up where we left off. So I created a geo called Particles Geo, which contains a sphere piped into a pop net, and obviously in there is where you set up your various oversampling methods. In the pop net, I showed you how you can spawn off a location, which is just a particle at any point in space I specify, which in this case I set it to be 5 units up in the y-axis. I showed you how to spawn off a source, which in this case was the first context geometry, namely that sphere which plugs into here, and that's particles spawn off of there. Then I showed you how to collect the two to, in fact let's just play that again. Then I showed you how to collect the two together, and this is a very clever thing that Houdini does. As I switch my display flags around, it will show me the state of that node, and then try doing that in Maya and see how far you get. Okay, let's just quickly talk about these emission settings. We go to birth. In this one, for instance, I've got impulse activation and constant activation. I've got impulse birth rate and constant birth rate. Okay, so these are two different methods for spawning particles. So if you mouse over them, it'll tell you what these actually do. So in impulse activation, turns impulse emission on and off. Impulse emits the number of particles in any impulse birth rate below each time the operator cooks. Okay, the constant one, if you mouse over that one, we'll just do it constantly. So when it's 0 it means false, and when it's 1 it means true. So here I'm spawning 100 particles constantly because it's true. If that was 1, for instance, then that would work, and if I turn that off, doesn't matter, so long as one of them is 0 it's going to be false. You can see that way I'm spawning loads more particles by doing it as an impulse. In fact, if I even mouse over here, it says I have spawned 10,551. Turn that one off, turn this one back on, hit rewind, go back, and I'm spawning a lot fewer particles, 346. Okay, so that gives you an idea. I want to show you how you can start to animate these emission points. First of all, I'll show you through a simple expression. So if you want to do an expression in here, all you do is just click in here and type. So in this case, I'm going to say $FF. So F is frame, FF is floating frame. So we'll divide the frame up into whatever subsample you choose. I'll choose less than 10. So what I'm saying, I'm going to bring my display flag up here, so we just see this. So what this means is, as soon as the timeline goes past 10, it's going to stop emitting. Okay, so it's emitting, and it goes past 10, and there's no more emission. Okay, so that's one way you can do it. You can just put a simple particle expression there. If you want to delete that, you right click and hit delete channels, and it goes back to normal. So I'll just undo that to keep that. The second way I want to show you is, so this source one has exactly the same setup. I'm going to show you how to keyframe it. So I'll go with this setup. You just hit play on that and you'll see how many particles come out. What I'll do is I'll turn it off at frame 80, okay? So if I right click and do channels and keyframe, there's my various keyframe options. So Alt left mouse button will set the keyframe. So set it to 100 and let's go to frame 80, which is here, and I'll set that to 0. Hit enter, and then if I want to commit to that, I will hit commit change, which previously it was key, now it's gone to commit change because I've changed a value that has been key. So I commit that, and now if we look, we get fewer and fewer particles. If I stop it there, you can see how it's gone down to 5, and then there's no more emission after that. Okay. If I want to see that in a graph mode, I'll right click, I'll go back into channels and keyframes and do scope, append scope parameters, which brings up a graph editor. Same controls, middle mouse button to pan, right to zoom. If you zoom up and down, it will zoom on that scale, left and right will zoom on that scale. Hit H for home. And in Maya, obviously we've got the same controls. We can adjust this curve by clicking on its tangents and changing that around any way you like. If I select the whole box, you see at the bottom it says frame 80 value 0. If I want to bring it forward to frame 70, you see that green line move down here? Take it to frame 60 and then watch your green line again. It shifts across. So now at frame 60, hit rewind, hit play. So it will hit 0 at frame 60 and stop emitting. Okay, so that's how you can go in here, and that's essentially your graph editor. It's called scope parameters. I can select the whole box and I can move it up and down. I can move it left and right to get what I want, and let's just keep it at frame 80 and 0, and I'll just change that slope around. Let's have a sudden drop off. And there's the name, constant rate. Constant rate is the name of that. If I just mouse over it, it says constant rate is the name of that parameter. So I'm going to have it drop off really suddenly, like this. So it's almost like an explosion, a burst, and then it fizzles out to nothing. And let's just maybe bring it forward about 10, 20 frames to frame 60. Okay, so kill that. I'll show you actually something very clever before I show you the next part. If I hit play and hit stop, I can set my display flag back on location 1, and it shows me the exact state of that node. If I hit collect, it shows me the state of both nodes. So you can actually simulate without viewing the thing you want, and you can just jump back and see how it looks. So there we are. That's how to create simple emission rates. How are we doing for time? I think I've got a couple more minutes. I will show you how to add a force. So we can go to forces, type in force, click it there, change set on that. So this is a force of nothing. If I change my gravity to minus 9.8, hit play, and things just start to drop, and then they die and disappear. Okay, I'm going to pause the video now. In the next video I'm going to talk about collisions and how we can set up collisions. I'll show you how to instance some geometry onto these particles. If time permits, I'll even show you how you can color them. I'm just conscious that my time on my Cam Studio will elapse, and I haven't been monitoring how long it's been going for. Yeah, again, please like, share the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Will be part C, in fact. Okay, thank you so much. See you in the next video. Thanks, bye.